Hello everyone, this is Writing Inspirations with Marky Woods and your host Dan Ricoberry, and here with us is our guest for today, R.I Lockett. Rod, how are you?
Hello, thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. Pretty good. It's 7 o'clock in Australia in the morning, so light's a little different to over there, but going well. And
I'm
yeah,
happy
thank
to
you for
hear that.
everyone for watching and listening.
I'm happy to hear that. So Rod, for how long have you been a writer?
Well, it's a layered question, that one, Daniel, because it varies. Obviously, we probably start off, I think, as kids, don't we? Writing. I think I was writing creative stories, heavily influenced by Star Wars, and things like that when I was a kid. And I think I wrote all this fan fiction as a young bloke. Won a couple of creative writing competitions in my primary school, and I was absolutely chuffed by that. But then I sort of didn't really take it seriously and sort of fell down the wayside. But I picked it back up again a couple of years before COVID hit. So I've been a teacher for 12 years, into my 13th year. And I was always teaching creative writing to my students. And I thought, oh, look, I can't just tell, I need to show and need to model some creative writing samples. And then I had this idea a long time ago for a book at university, and that became the one of the ideas for the Guardians of Celeste, and also had another idea for a story. I used to live in England, and I was a bartender over there, and it was a tough time. I was going through a lot of stuff. I'd had a parent pass away, had a lot of sort of things going on, and I just needed some sort of release for a lot of the stress and pressure I was under, and decided to put it down on paper. And then I sort of let it go. That was my first novel, Resurrection, but the idea came through a long time ago, and I didn't really come back to it till, yeah, just before COVID, and I had a few students that wanted me to keep writing it. So I kept adding a chapter probably every week under Wattpad, and then I released it on Amazon in 2020. And then
Oh,
my next novel came about in the second lockdown, so I seem to be influenced by COVID a bit. And I was hanging out with my daughter, and she was nearly 2 at the time, and so there's a real strong father-daughter sort of bond in my second novel. So yeah, so it kept going, and I wouldn't say I've had huge success. I can say I'm an internationally selling author, but I'm not a bestseller. And I was speaking.
I get the
Oh, here's
feeling.
my daughter. Harper, come and say hello. So there's a character in my book, Shanari, who's heavily influenced by Harper here. Same red hair and everything. And then
Oh,
Ronan wants to photobomb as well. This is Daniel. He's interviewing me for the book that I wrote. You want to wave? Wave, so the other hand, so we can see you.
Hello.
There we go. All
yeah,
right,
I
what are you
see
doing?
her. I see her.
Do you want to watch? Are you watching Bluey? All right.
Oh, Louis is awesome.
So yeah, big hit in Australia, but it sounds like it's a big hit worldwide.
Or because it's an intelligent series that actually takes kids seriously.
Yeah, and it's got a lot of fun adult jokes too. Yeah, so that's a little bit about how I got started. I think the trickiest part now is the marketing, as you know. Writing a book is one thing,
Oh, I
and
get it so hard. Well,
getting
and
it out there.
editing.
And I've been shown a bit of love by some of my followers and just people on Amazon and family and friends. But it'd be nice to hit a more world audience, but you never know. It's a waiting game.
Yeah, that's completely true. And the self promotion never stops.
No one. Hence why we're here, and hence why you guys
Yeah.
are
Well,
lovely.
at least you call the attention of someone that can actually help with that. Well,
Here's the other one. Say
so
hello. This is Ronan. Say hi.
hello.
All right. Bye bye.
No.
Much Bluey.
So tell me, you mentioned that Star Wars inspired you, but do you have another source of inspiration that still provide you with materials today?
Oh, of course. Look, when I started the Guardians of Celeste, it was very much inspired by Lord of the Rings, and obviously grew up around the films. I read The Hobbit when I was in junior school, and
That's a heavy reading for a child.
yeah, Oh, look, I guess my mum would say I was born into a family of readers. You probably were too, and I was reading like Tom Clancy novels and things when I was in like year six and year seven.
Oh, I do have the physical books in my house.
Yeah, nice. And my family just would pass it around, and my brother as well, very avid reader. And same with my wife and her family. As you can tell by the books, we've got a massive bookcase here in our. This isn't a backdrop, as you can see. It's a real bookcase. My father-in-law put it in. But yeah, a lot of books. Roald Dahl, all that stuff as a kid. Fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Dune as well. I read probably my first couple of years at university. So fantasy's been a favorite genre of mine, as well as dystopian novels. George Orwell with 1984 and Animal Farm are also two of my absolute bucket list
Yeah,
for other people.
those are
Top
most
10.
read.
Yeah, and as a teacher, I've taught them a number of times, especially 1984. So yeah, that's kind of my main inspirations writing it. And Guardians of Celeste, Daniel, is sort of it's almost like my antidote to some of the problems with Lord of the Rings. While I do love the books, sometimes they're a bit slow paced. There's a lot about climbing, like Sam and Frodo just wandering aimlessly, and I like to not. I like to up the tension in Guardians of Celeste. Like people say, it reads like an action.
I know the feeling. It happens to me with Harry Potter. I do
Yeah,
like the books, but when I think on how the power system works on that book, it just infuriates me because it doesn't make sense.
yeah, that's right. So world building is key to the fantasy stuff too. Yeah, so it's yeah, I guess I'm influenced all everywhere by writing and reading, and you try and combine all elements of your real life, even when you're writing a fantasy world.
Yeah, I get it. So I have these questions. How has been your writing spirit these days?
So I'm currently teaching casually at the moment, like a substitute. So I do a few days a week at a high school, and then I have usually a Friday off, and I'm looking after Ronan that you met there. But when I get a chance, I often do a bit of writing as well. So this week, I've written another chapter for. I'm writing the sequel to Guardians of Celeste Part One. So I was able to churn out probably about 1,000 words to just between 1,000 and 2,000. That's a good week for me. I don't often get that time to write, but when I did Guardians of Celeste Part One, I tried to do 1,000 words a week, but then Ronan was born, and it was a bit hard with being a dad and full-time English teacher. So it took nearly 2 years, but I'm hoping to have the sequel finished this year. And the writing process, I know Stephen King writes something like 2,000 words a day, and that's great for him when that's all you do, like when you're hired as a full-time writer. But we've got all these other jobs.
Okay,
I think 1,000 words a week's enough.
well, at least your editor doesn't ask you for 3,000 per day.
I know that's crazy. I look if that's what I did, I could probably do it full time, but maybe 3,000 words a day. No, I think I'd have to write in a different genre. I think fantasy requires so much
It's
imagination.
equivalent to 10 pages.
Yeah, that's it. So that's what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
Wow. So you better stop this interview and just get back to writing.
No, today I took a break because I needed to write other things for work.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. So I have this question. What's the most difficult thing you have struggled with as a writer? Other than
Um,
time management, I assume.
Proofreading's a big one, and sort of having the discipline to cut stuff out that isn't working.
Oh,
Guardians of Celeste Part One, I had a plot device towards the end of all things that I had to rewrite an entire chapter. Um, Formatting's still an issue with me, and the other thing, the big thing, is marketing. I've only done a couple of interviews on each book, and part of that is having the time to do it. Sometimes also people want to charge, a lot of money for it, which I don't have. So it's trying to find people that are willing to help and charge either no money or just in the idea of promotion or things like that. So interviews, and boasting about your work seems to go against like our culture, which is about like being modest and everything. And you sort of have to throw all that out the window when you're doing an interview. You have to sort of almost brag about everything. And I would like to think I'm a fairly modest person at heart. So that's probably the big challenge, is marketing, getting it out there. I've had some promotional sales and advertising that I've put through, and it just has not led to any sales. So it can be a little disheartening at times, but you got to keep at it and stay motivated.
I get it. So, moving on a little bit with the topic, I want to ask you, do you have a story like how did you name it your book, or a reason why it's named like that?
I think the idea is the world itself. I wanted to come up with a unique sort of world, and when I was sort of looking for names, I thought Celeste it's to do with a bright star. It's the idea that, like I said, I know Star Wars. They talk about how Tatooine is like the furthest end, the least brightest star at the edge of the universe, whereas Celeste in this one is basically a world in itself. It's very much the focus. So it's a bright star. So that's sort of how it came to the name. It's off a European dialect. And the Guardians, actually the original title of the book was The Guardians initially. And a long time ago when I was first coming up with the idea. So the prologue is about this exile that is forced out by these people. And I wanted people to know, who are these people like? And so the Guardians in the book are very much like a combination of, say, the Jedi, the Bene Gesserit priests in Dune, but also these sort of almost monk-like people as well, but still sort of have some sort of reign over the place. And they're protecting a secret about the afterlife and the world. And so not only are they the guardians of the people, they're sort of these guardians of knowledge and this existential existence. So putting it all together, that's how it became the Guardians of Celeste. And I thought I had enough for one novel, but then talking to my wife, Siobhan, who was just off the side of the camera, she said, look, you need to do it as a trilogy, I think. And sure enough,
Actually, I was told the same thing, that when you start, it's more attractive to sell a series than just a single book.
yeah. And I think just too many ideas came through. And I think halfway through writing, I thought, no, I cannot get all this done in one book. And also one of the main characters, Shannari, starts off as a baby at the beginning, and she's going to be an adult. So to cover all that, I think it's better to do it over the span of 3 books. And it's almost like the trials in a young woman's life, going into the edge of puberty at the end of book 1 and into book 2, and then becoming, an adult in book 3. So it's part of that Bildungsroman, and it's that personal journey as well.
That sounds fascinating. So, tell me, do you have plans for the future, like going to an event to promote yourself or stuff like that?
I guess it's a bit up in the air, Daniel. I've got a couple of interested people that want to publish the book, but we'll wait and see. So one of my other jobs, another reason why I'm not writing more than 1,000 words a week, I write for a game company called Astronova, and they're with just the demos just coming out on Steam this week. So I've got to do some scripts for them. I also do some work for Spoiler Magazine in Hollywood, and I've been writing film reviews and editing for them. And so I'm not quite sure. There's a few interested parties, but we'll wait and see what happens. But yeah, I honestly want to complete this trilogy, and then who knows how long that'll take, probably 2 or 3 years. And then after that, I'd like to maybe look at writing my own dystopian novel, maybe not my own version of 1984. It might not be that impressive.
Is this a spin-off or a complete new series?
Oh, I think no, it'll be a completely new series. It's nice writing in the high fantasy genre, but There are some rules and limitations that I'd like to experiment with other things outside the genre. So yeah, so that's sort of the main thing, and obviously watching my kids grow up, and trying to turn writing full time into a full time career rather than it seems to be a side hustle at the moment. So
So, Rob, tell me, do you have like platforms or social media where people can like check the status of your work, etc.?
a few things, yeah. So I'm on, obviously Facebook, and X, formerly Twitter. I sort of post regular updates on Twitter on as to where I'm going. Instagram as well. I'll send you guys. I'll have to send you the links for you to post up
That will be
when you.
great.
Yeah, a few other things, and I've got a couple of blogs I do too. So one of them is Tired Teacher. So I do write some things about being in that teacher exhaustion, teacher fatigue phase,
Yeah.
and so there it's sort of a little bit of my journey from full-time English into casual, but possibly back to full-time English teacher, and resources. There's just some handy resources for other people. So yeah, I'll send you the links for all those. It's a good way to contact me. As well as on Amazon is The Key at the moment. That's who I'm publishing through. So it's just a self-publishing at this point. So you can check out, there's two books on there. There's The Guardians of Celeste, which we're talking about heavily today, and we'll talk about a little bit more. But also my first novel, Resurrection, is available on there in Kindle and ebook. And if you're on that Kindle Unlimited program, it's free as well. It's a different sort of novel. It's whereas Guardians of Celeste is young adult, this one's very adult in its nature, very violent. Resurrection is lots of supernatural themes. It's a bit like Stephen King sort of writing. So that's another one of my influences too, Daniel.
Oh, that sounds fun. Stephen King's, it's great.
As an English teacher, I love teaching his extracts from his horror, like the start of the or even his fantasy work. So the start of the Dark Tower series, the Gunslinger's got some of the best writing at the very beginning, and also like Salem's Lot. I actually taught the students after I taught. No, I read it after I taught Dracula, and it's his version of it. And I just think it's brilliant. It was one of those novels that I'd read that you feel full afterwards. Like honestly couldn't pick up another book for about a week or two because I just feel like nothing could match it. So big compliment to Stephen King there.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for being here with us today. This was Dan Ricoberry in Writing Inspiration with Marquee Books. Thank you for coming, and thank you, Rob, for being with us.
Oh, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Let's hope we have another meeting again.
Good. Looking forward to it, Daniel, and let us know more about your books as well.
Of course. Bye.